Call to order tonight's special Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, November 2nd, here in the boardroom at 5:30 p.m. Can we have a roll call, please, Ron?
Chad Krieger.
Here.
Ron Liberty here. Ken Rosnes.
Here.
Rhea Volpe.
Here.
Brett Waller.
Here.
Lindy England.
Here.
Doug Zashbeck.
Here.
Kevin Blake.
Here. First item on our agenda is an update on the personnel report, hirings, recruitments, and resignations and retirements. This will be a, for your information, only update from Eddie on the progress there. We were hoping, I don't want to steal his thunder, hoping we'd have some names to report and get people on board, but Eddie, if you could take over for that.
Close, but not close enough. We have offers on the table, but no one has accepted. So I was hoping we'd have some accepted offers so we could approve them. One of them was one of the ESSER aides that was approved at the last meeting. The other one was the school forest aide position. So, like I said, offers are on the table. I may even have one as early as tomorrow for the HR Finance Committee meeting. But at that point, they'll wait for official hiring. If anybody is unemployed or not, having an obligation to an employer right now, or subbing somewhere else, or for us for that matter, they may start before the next board meeting. It would just be, all the finalization would be contingent on your approval, if that makes sense. Okay? I think that's about it.
I know we had a number of positions we've talked about, I believe 5 at Case, and
Yep.
the school forest position is a couple examples. How are we looking at number of applicants? I know that's been a concern, being timing of the year.
I do not honestly know off the top of my head. I think there were 10, actually I know there were 10, because I asked Amber today about that one in particular. There were 10 applicants for the school forest aide position. That one I figured we'd have a pretty good pool for. It's a pretty sweet deal. And I get to do some neat projects out there, and it's full-time, benefits, the whole 9 yards, so I figured we'd be pretty good there. I do not know the other one offhand, and I think it's even open or posted. It might be posted until filled. I have to check with Amber on that one.
All right. So being that there was no offers accepted or no negotiations completed, like I said, that was for our information only tonight. So an update, the reason we changed this to a special board meeting with these topics versus a board admin retreat, we do have one of the administrators is out on, I don't know, his conference or PTO, and then we do have one working remotely that is sick.
Yep, Dr. Sample's out of medical leave till November 11th. And we'll keep you posted if anything changes. But that is his return date at this point.
So that is where we're at on that. The next item on here was the review and possible action regarding COVID-19 protocols for maps specific to quarantine of students and staff, and reviewing the attorney updates and clarify the desired board direction. Long story short, we had a special board meeting on September 28th. We took action. There was an order by Lincoln County Health Department, made a decision to follow that order. We got some legal guidance and answered specifically the question, which was brought about, can Lincoln County Health Department with an order with a simple signature, in this case, overrule an approved motion? So I was asked to follow up on that question at the last board meeting, as well as asking the question, could a school board subpoena somebody to come to an open board meeting? I then, once I got the answers, that next day I sent that out to everybody. Long story short, on the subpoena situation, unless it is evidentiary, meaning such as an expulsion or something where there is an investigation where we are taking closed session review, we cannot subpoena somebody just for willingness to share information. That is an invitation, not a subpoena. The rest of that was a little lengthy, so I don't know if anyone had any questions and wanted to go through the recommendations and guidance from Boardman Clark. Otherwise, I would open the floor to any questions or discussions, or I would make some recommendations myself if you wanted to hear, but I'd like to start with hearing what board members think. Maria?
So, with regard to the recommendations from Boardman Clark, I've read that. So tonight we have the possibility of addressing the motion that we already had in place before Lincoln County stepped in and the district adopted Lincoln County as opposed to our board's recommendations. I guess my question is, at this moment, do we know, we talked about at the last board meeting, having Lincoln County come in and speak with the board. Do we know where that's at? I'd just like an update if we have one.
Right, and I'm not sure if Eddie has an answer to that. I did not speak to that. So what I did speak to was asking, I'm trying to picture what makes sense with that guidance. And what I mean by that is, so we're following an order. Do we have to follow the order? Do we not? Do we get into a legal situation? We're trying to bring someone to the table to have a joint discussion of understanding and moving forward on something. If we act tonight, which we can with parliamentary procedure, to say, you know what, I stick to my guns, and September 28th, we spent 2-3 hours talking about something, and we came up with a motion that we approved, and we want to keep that or amend that or rescind that. That's where we're headed, and what I'm trying to figure out our direction, because things have happened and we've got answers to multiple questions along the way, and it's not necessarily anyone's unilateral decision to make. It's us as a board to make.
No, I get it, but I guess I'm just wondering, since the last board meeting, we said, okay, we're gonna invite Lincoln County to come and talk to us. Do we have any idea what you're shaking your head no, Eddie, but does that mean they said no? Does that mean you don't know?
I don't know. I don't know. I just texted John real quick to see if that is something that he did or didn't do or whatever, but I have not heard anything, and I'm not aware of like them formally declining or saying yes, we'll be there or anything like that.
And I haven't been copied in on anything other than normal correspondence from Shelley, just updating on county things that everyone probably gets. I have not been carbon copied or blind carbon copied in on anything, so, and no verbal updates from Tammy or Dr. Sample at this time.
Okay, I mean, I guess I will just say that that's very interesting, considering the sense of urgency that we have with the district of doing that. So I'll let anybody else speak and then I'll make my motion.
Chad, then Linda?
So before we get too far in this, I think it was kind of a roundabout way, but I'm a little confused how our motion never got put in. Does the administration have a right to overrule our motion? Because we never took anything with what the county said. What, John sent out a thing, and then actually I found a thing from Channel 9 where he made it sound like the district went this way, the county pushed us. I don't know, we were never consulted as a board. I got an email that says, county says we're doing this. We should have had, in my mind, that should have been a special meeting that day, next day. Our motion's still there. I don't even know if we, my question is, do they have the right to go over our motion?
No, the answer is no, but they did as, if you caught in the middle of our last board meeting, there was a moment where John shared that sequence of events. We get the order, he contacts me, we contact Boardman Clark, and and I give him guidance that I feel the safest legal way to do this is to follow the order until we reconvene and talk about this as a board. Should we have met sooner than tonight? Perhaps. But there was other questions to be answered, so it was not John acting unilaterally. He asked my opinion. I said we need legal to answer this, even in a time where we're trying to keep our attorney fees down, because I don't know our exposure with Lincoln County Health. What's their next step if we don't follow the order? Do they seek something of an injunction from the district attorney? What is their next step? Would they do this? What is the right path if we're trying to work together? So my conservative approach after talking to Boardman Clark was, said at this point, let's follow this and let's reconvene as a topic for the entire board.
Okay, so my question then I guess is that the right way that we should have done it? As a board, we voted as a board to do one thing. Administration, you decided to go this way. And like I said, I mean, I was, the reason I bring it up, because for some reason last night, all of a sudden, I don't know what I was looking for on Channel 9, all of a sudden pops up that we decided, it said that we're under a district that decided to put a stronger COVID regulations in. Well, as a district, we never decided that.
Right.
That wasn't our choice, but in the news, it's released as that the district did it. So that's why I'm kind of, I mean, we got put out there for something that we never said.
Fair enough.
You know where I'm coming from? I mean, to me, we had a motion, it should have been followed. If we weren't gonna follow it, we should have had a meeting to either rescind it, keep going with it. We could have put the thing on hold, but then that next day, 2 days later, we should have had something. I mean, otherwise, I don't know why we spent 3 hours for, 3.5 hours for a meeting that really meant nothing.
I certainly understand your frustration. I was there with you.
Oh, I know, I'm looking at I guess I don't even know what we're debating, because our motion's still out there, our motion's passed. Is there a debate we even need to have?
No, there is not a debate. I mean, what it is direction, because for the exact reason you pointed out, Chad, is it was very clear last meeting that that wasn't necessarily the direction that the majority would have taken, so we need to straighten that out. My technique of working with somebody is different than that of our collective technique, and my responsibility that day was to make a decision based on the information I had, which was in order, and what the attorney said. So I stand by that decision. However, I also stand by whatever the board decides. I'm here as the chair for all of us. So at the time, do I feel it was the right decision? Sure. I need to then speak for all of us after that, and I did not answer TV 7, 9, 12, or the photo news requests for information, because I didn't have an answer. The answer we have is approved motions and minutes from other meetings, and they had that. As with the next topic, I decline comment on that as well. That's between that person and their decision. That's not for me to interpret. So I just did what I thought was best. But tonight, you're absolutely right. We have the parliamentary procedure. We can say, you know what, I want nothing changed with that motion, and I want within so many days this rolled out, and we go with that. You can amend it to say, you know what, I've learned some things over since the 28th of September, which obviously was a whole month, and this is how I'd like it amended. And you can say, you know what, we're going down this other path, and if we would have necessarily known we have a reservation for the next meeting, perhaps that would make us all feel better that we had this marked on the calendar, that we have a 2-hour session with Lincoln County Health, and there we're at, that's where we're at, but we don't. So Basically, those are our options, to leave it status quo and/or amend that date of rolling it out. Now let say, you know what, we understand the order, but we want it implemented by this date. We had an October 4th rollout date. Now we want it to be November 4th, or we want it to be tomorrow's the 3rd, or, you know, whatever that is. Like I said, you can amend it to that and have any other discussion on it, or you can rescind the motion altogether in hopes that Lincoln County Health does come up to the table, or we can use that as perhaps a chip to say, hey, we're doing something because you haven't come to the table, which was part of the discussion last time. So those are all options. I've got Linda and then you, Maria. Chad, you can finish your thought and then I'll.
Well, just to add on, I mean, I guess last meeting we decided we wanted to we were gonna set a date with Lincoln County Health, so I mean, guess we're waiting on, I'm assuming we're waiting on that, if they're gonna come or not, but,
Right.
and nobody knows if they even asked them. So that was, I mean, we were gonna cancel today's meeting, that original there was talk to cancel today's meeting to do that.
It was an idea I brought
Yeah,
up at
I
the
know,
table
but I
that
mean,
night
it was
because we had-
like Maria said, it was,
all of us here.
urgency, and now all of a sudden we're here and again, and we don't know if they were even contacted.
And I believe at least one board member, if not two, stated, and I'll call on Eddie for an update, that let's not push them while it's very urgent. Perhaps the 2nd was too soon for their schedule, and we don't want to feel like we're backing them into a corner while it was that urgent. I heard at least one board member say that. And I thought, give them 3-4 business days, and they haven't changed their stance besides new data. Unless it didn't work physically in their calendar, it was worth a shot to me, but.
Okay.
That is
Quick update, and I'm gonna.
That's
call
what
on
John
Linda.
just kind of echoed to me. He said no invitation, because of some of that discussion that had transpired at the last meeting about whether or not it was too soon. So I don't believe, from what I'm understanding, there is no invitation at this time.
You mean,
So,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm actually gonna probably say what she said. So I believe the instruction by the board was still to reach out to the Lincoln County Health Department for an invitation to come and meet with us. And that was last Wednesday. So today is the 4th business day, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. And the way it sounds is that's been put on a back burner and nobody's done anything. Now that's very frustrating. I mean, and I guess what the one board member said, you know, maybe tonight was gonna be too quick. That was understood by, I think, quite a few of us. Yeah, we're trying to turn this tables, which was understood. But I thought the direction of the board was for you guys to reach out to the Lincoln County Health Department and make that invitation. And now, the way it sounds, none of it's been done at all.
I don't know if that necessarily needs to be directed at Eddie, though.
No, well, he's
You
here
know,
tonight as the
right.
administrator.
Right.
And so, and I'm sorry.
No, I understand. I understand. I'm just gonna write it down.
And I
And
guess
so,
you're
like,
kind of taking the ear of it from us tonight, because
What I would do for you guys tonight, like if you want to make sure we leave tonight, and that's like what's happening, take a vote as such, and we will execute that. I don't believe we took that vote last time. Is that
Well, that was motioned and passed.
it was that we were going to call the county and
absolutely, yes.
We didn't say.
all right.
We didn't say you have to do it by 2 o'clock on last Thursday, but
Okay.
the intent was not to meet this Tuesday.
Was to
but-
reach out, yeah, and sorry, I guess he's
Right,
standing
yeah.
in as the administrator tonight,
I
so
just
he's
wanted-
gonna be taking the brunt of our questions tonight, unfortunately. John's not here, so we have to direct it to
Happy
somebody.
Tuesday, Eddie.
I will follow up
But,
with John and Tammy and make sure that they
So I think when they
revisit
come
the
across as
motion
being
and
adjourned,
communicate a timeline.
and if
to you
I'm
guys.
drooling in front of you, I apologize too, I just got from the dentist. But, yeah, so, it's
I was
frustrating.
sidestepped that, I didn't expect.
Well, I didn't know if I had, cause like.
I just thought you were getting excited.
I was gonna, it's been a long day, I spent 2 hours at the dentist, but then, for this, the order to not actually even be addressed is very frustrating as a board member. Very, very frustrating, very disappointing. And I know it's not directed to you, it's all the administrators, because Karen Baker was there as well. So, and she works with the health department, is,
I I don't have the minutes in front of me, I would take that vote tonight just for fun, so there is no possibility that a vote doesn't exist, does that make sense?
All right.
There one has already been done.
There was a
So,
vote.
October
Okay.
27th minutes, after a proposed motion and rescinding of an initial motion based on discussion, motion by Volpe, second by Yingling, to have administration reach out to Lincoln County Health Department to set up a meeting to discuss the COVID situation, protocols and responsibilities of each entity in an open session special board meeting. Motion carried unanimously. Signed by Clerk Liberty, the recorder, Tammy Waller, reviewed by myself and Dr. Sample. So that part is not a question, and nor do we need to redo that. That would just be frustrating for board members.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
Myself.
I haven't seen the minutes, I just wanna make sure that someone doesn't tell me, no, it didn't happen.
Were you at the board meeting?
I was, I've not seen those minutes yet.
Okay,
Um,
so then apparently conversations were not being listened to by the administrators then.
They were, there was a lot of discussion that night, and, yeah.
And then the next thing is, I guess I'm gonna go back to this whole COVID thing. When the order came through, I guess, you did speak for the whole board because you thought that was the way to go. However, maybe a phone call to us would have been beneficial and say, hey, we're being directed this way. Would you like to call a special meeting, go that way? But I'm thinking, I know I wasn't at that meeting that night, and I apologize for that too. But I think we need to stand with our order. I don't believe we need to redo a whole new order for this COVID stuff. We need to just stand our ground. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay. So, in response to that, it is the role of the chair or the president to make that decision. I asked that of the attorney. I can't call everybody all the time on everything and then be told I'm not doing enough or doing too much, or certain topics you just have to run with. So if that disheartens a number of you, I apologize for doing what I thought was best for the board and the district at that moment. Was my reaction to it, and it was legal advice, which we may not take. And at that point, there may or may not be consequences. I don't know. I'm not an attorney. I'm a realtor.
No, it's not I'm not saying it's disheartening. When an order was made by the full board, and we just got done talking about, certain things about being on as a board member, as a one board member, that we only speak for ourselves, not the full board, is kind of what, I get out of some of that, is we should speak as the whole board when we're having to make those big decisions. That's all.
Okay, then I will just say point taken, and not point you to policies, bylaws, and state statute as to how I acted.
Well, I'm not holding you that you made a bad decision. I appreciate the decision you made, but I just, some things maybe the whole board needs to be made aware of. That's all.
Fair enough. Maria had something to add. Brett had his hand up as well, so.
Go first.
Brett, go ahead.
I guess what's done is done. At this point, don't really even care. I think we have to either decide if we're going to meet with Lincoln County Health Department, or if we're going to continue with our motion and just stand behind that. Because if we're going to stand behind our motion, I think a meeting with Lincoln County Health Department is a complete waste of 8 people's time, plus administration. If we want to meet with Lincoln County Health Department and have that discussion, I think we have to accept that our motion is null and void until we meet with Lincoln County Health Department and come up with a new motion after that meeting. So I personally don't think Lincoln County Health Department is going to show up. So I guess I look at this 2 ways. Either we just let our motion instruct administration to follow the motion that's on the table and hasn't been changed, or extend an invite to Lincoln County Health Department, let them deny it or do whatever they're going to do, and then let our motion stand as it is, so that we can at least say, well, we tried to reach out to you and talk to you, but you declined twice. So personally don't care which way it goes, but I think our motion either way is gonna be followed because Lincoln County Health Department isn't gonna show up. So, that's that.
Fair enough.
Ron,
What do you have then, Ron? Do it. Ron?
Mr.
You can go first if you want.
I'm teasing. Oh.
Another can of worms. What are we gaining by this? I mean, we're just butting heads with the Lincoln County Health Department. I strongly feel they're gonna win. Boardman Clark thinks they're gonna win. You know, what are we gaining? What good are we doing the kids? I guess it boils down to that.
Well, I think ultimately, Ron, my interpretation of that is we have, at the time of this discussion on the 28th of September, we had too many kids quarantined. We don't enjoy the fact, as a board, a majority of the board, that we have to do contact tracing, let alone in the manner that we do it, which may be pretty conservative by nature, or liberal, if you will, saying, hey, this whole group is quarantined versus this row or this proximity of the bubble of the person. Do I think it's an olive branch you're trying to make friends with an organization? No. Do I think, as stated at the last board meeting, that puts Dr. Sample administration, who's been following their guidance since day one of the pandemic, in the middle? Yes. But that's what we look into. We make those decisions as a board. How to safely educate the students and have a safe work environment for our staff. So that, I mean, do I think that's going to lead to someone wanting to meet with us? Probably not. I probably wouldn't. But, and that was to Brett's point, but
At the meeting in, was that September 28th? There was a comment made, I think it was Mr. Martinovich, said, if you go to universal masking, we will go from 300 quarantine down to 30 that fast. I don't want to go to masking, I don't like it myself, but that is a possible solution.
and I think
That cuts down on the quarantines, cuts down on teachers maybe being out sick, cuts down on the kids being safer. I don't like it. I first want to tell you, I don't like masking.
so we had one administrator, building principal, bring that up as an option. We had used, for those who don't recall, because it was a long night, used an example, picking on two board members that sat next to each other, one wearing a mask, one not wearing a mask. And I believe the term used by our director of pupil services is, you would have been golden in that illustration and the other would not. Fast forward about an hour of a trying meeting, bring up universal masking and someone else, a different building principal mentions, now wait a second, if somebody has an exemption or cites whatever reason and doesn't have a mask in that room, you're not hitting the very definition of universal masking. And then the approach of administration was, I cannot speak for Lincoln County Health, but that would meet the guidance if we said, and the majority was doing this, but I can't speak for another organization.
They also
So-
have the universal mask on the buses, right? Are they doing it?
And that's a federal
That's a
guidance.
That's a federal deal.
And, right, and I don't wanna get into which medical exemptions you can or can't ask for, and
Right.
there's other rules there, but, you know, to the point, after that hour, when asked, so let's go back to the scenario Mr. Waller would have been in, we got a different answer. The answer by then, we went from golden to it depends, and everyone kind of looked like, ooh. So now we're on the motion that was brought up and voted on unanimously on that roll call vote that night. You he has the floor. I saw a hand over here. Maria has yielded the floor 3 times.
I'll give one more time to Nubs. You go.
Well, here's what I think, because we don't know 6 months from now, a year from now, what else is gonna come out. You know, we don't wanna have Lincoln County Health Department mad at us. You know, we don't wanna be in a fight with them, just because we disagree with them. So, my feeling is that, you know, tomorrow or sometime this week, we get a hold of them, see if they'll meet with us. If they don't meet, if they don't wanna meet, Monday we put our motion into order. If they meet with us, then let's meet with them before, we implement our motion. That's the way I feel. But give them this week, you know, because we don't think, probably nobody has talked to them, so they don't even know. You know, so I think we got, you know, we can go another 3 days. Give them 3 days to decide whether they're gonna meet with us or not. But, somebody call them tomorrow. Does that make sense?
That motion's out there already, and done, voted. Should have been done.
But it
Did not
wasn't.
yield to you.
So we need to, you know, but chances are it wasn't done, so we need to deal with where we're at right now. You know, we can't blame Lincoln County Health for not responding to us if we didn't call them. You know, it's not their fault for not responding because they didn't even know, you know.
Yeah, you can't just like an answer to a question they haven't been posed. I got you.
Yeah. So that's my feeling. I think we can wait, we waited a month, we can wait three more days. If there's no response, Monday we go ahead with our motion.
You told me.
It's your turn.
Everybody good?
Well, it's been your turn for a while. Brett, did you have anything? You kind of did a wave. Was that a?
I have something with Maria.
I think
I'll
she,
yield the floor.
I think she's going to motion.
No.
I am gonna motion.
So
yeah.
we can either hold it for
So you-
discussion based
whatever
on the
you wanna do.
motion.
I will not, I don't care if I win, lose, or otherwise, but I will not let some elected, not unelected official tell me what to do.
Thank you.
I will not tolerate, I don't care what it is, she does not have the authority to tell someone who gets voted in what to do or not to.
Fair enough.
So, I respect what you're saying, Nubs, but I go back to 928. We have a motion in place, we directed the district to do something, the district decided not to do it. Not blaming anyone, I'm just saying a fact is a fact, that's where we're at. At this point in time, I would choose to not give Lincoln County any more chances. If they want to come back after which what I will do is move to direct MAPS to follow our motion on 928. I don't have the language, however, so I don't know if I can just say that. Kevin, do we have the language of the motion? I know that it was corrected a couple of times because I got lengthy.
Yes, the motion read that evening as passed on a roll call vote. Motion by yourself that as a result of symptomatic or a close contact quarantine, you move to allow reentry into school the day following proof of a negative COVID test, effective, on that time it was effective Monday, October 4th, 2021.
Okay, are you taking this down, Ron? Okay,
Talk slow.
so that motion with the date of November 3rd, and then I'd also like to add this and further move to eliminate the use of MAPS district resources.
And move to what?
Move to eliminate the use of MAPS district resources to contact trace individuals potentially exposed
Direct district resources to
contact trace
eliminate MAPS district resources to contact, okay.
individuals potentially exposed to positive COVID cases in the district.
Are you saying you want to add that to this motion?
Yes, sir. And with that
So
old
you're-
motion, the date is changed to November 3rd.
So you would be amending that
You're
motion?
amending this
accordingly.
motion
Yes, sir.
to this.
Yes, and including the contact tracing language. And I guess I'd just like to say, this is beyond the motion, I'm frustrated with administration, I'm frustrated with administration that the order wasn't followed. But that's bygones be bygones. But then, now last week, this was urgent to get a hold of Lincoln County and discuss this. And if it hasn't been done, I'm disappointed. This is an order by the board. Here's the organizational chart. Here's the board, here's the superintendent, and here's everybody else. We're not being heard, and that's very frustrating. Thus, my reason for this motion, and if that brings Lincoln County to the table, if that does something, we'll deal with it at that point in time, but at this moment, the board needs to be heard, and we have not been, in my opinion.
I'll second the motion that's on the table.
Motion by Maria, second by Brett. Open for questions or discussion on this motion.
The only,
No, go ahead.
the only question I'd have, how strict can we get on district resources? Because if they're, I'm assuming they'll reach out, and, you know, if they reach out to Karen or someone and just be like, you know, no, but I mean, at some point, I'm assuming we have to hand them over probably a class list or some, I guess I don't wanna, this, I don't know how you can amend that to make it so they can help without,
I hear you. The
being held
spirit is not
accountable
to
to-
say, I'm not gonna give you the information. The spirit is not having Brad Potter or Heather Skutak or Amy Stutzring calling families and saying, your child's
Right.
been exposed. That falls on Lincoln County, in my opinion.
So do
So,
we
yeah,
have,
if
do
you
we
guys
have
have
to amend that a little bit, or can we just have it as a friendly understanding? But my concern with a friendly understanding is we jump down the rabbit hole of
Yeah.
nothing changing and just,
Is there a list of, like, is there, I don't want to be too fair.
Or is it
Yeah.
we don't make
I mean, I know
contact?
this is kinda outside of your deal, I don't know if you have.
I would try to adjust your motion to like reflect the general ideals, so like, I wouldn't say no resources, cause like, that's very, like Brett said, very black and white.
You know, if someone came to you, basically, I mean, the minute someone handed something over, we could refer them, they can be referred to you for a policy violation or something.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's not the intent, I assume, so, you know, if the goal simply is to get it so that MAP staff is not contact tracing or doing the actual tracing calls, that might be a better way to word it, because then like if they need information, we would supply the information, whether it was a seating chart or a class roster or whatever. But I don't know exactly how this is gonna go, and I promise you that whatever, all the things that we're not thinking of, that will be thought of when folks read the motion tomorrow, there will be questions, and I'm sure there will be some kind of declarative follow-up that'll have to happen. Because there's just situations that I don't even know about on the student side, especially that occur on a day-to-day basis.
I guess if they were paying attention to the meeting the other night, I think we did get pretty base, instructional of what we were talking about the other night when that first motion was passed. And we got into that nitty gritty where we had to pull back stuff and then re-enter stuff when we
Right.
did that motion. And, you know, so if the administrators were listening to our conversation the other night,
But do you want
I don't know.
to leave that to chance? I mean, we've
I
had,
don't know, can we?
let's just use an
At this
example
rate,
of,
can we?
let's just use the example of contacting Lincoln County Health Department, if we just wanna be vague with it.
I think it needs to be specific.
I think we just didn't want them doing the calls, spending the time.
And
That
we
was the
can-
big,
We can amend that to say.
I think that was the agreement on
Okay.
pretty much everybody.
Yeah,
Yes.
we don't want them to make the calls, and I don't want, again, I'll use Mr. Potter, him put in harm's way of getting yelled at or almost run over by a parent in the parking lot
Mhm.
because they're mad because he made
Sure.
a call about their student.
But an email with the roster is fine.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right, so maybe move to eliminate use of mass district resources to make contact tracing calls for two individuals slash families potentially exposed. I don't know, you guys do.
I think that's,
So
that pretty
it's
much
very
sums it up.
specific. Is there anything that we're not thinking of that they do with contact tracing? Like, do they have to, you know, because I'm assuming that they have a roster list, there's a class seating chart.
I'll be honest, I've never done it.
Okay.
Sure.
So I'm sure there has to be some sort of list.
They just tossed
Check
into the
attendance,
middle.
'cause it's not
There's
usually
some
same
sort
day,
of,
right?
yeah, so I'm assuming that there's some sort of list.
Business
So
operations
if
is expanded.
if they call us, here's the list.
Right, here's the list of
That's
the
the
contact.
intention. Give them
Now,
a
I don't
list.
know how specific some classrooms are getting, because I know this is where I'm just as a mom, you know, there's some kids in classes that
One
get,
conversation. finish up
Sorry.
before.
oh, that's okay.
No, that's me,
Okay.
I'm.
Like there's one, like where a kid in a class may not be sitting near somebody, so they may not be included in the contact tracing, so my only, if we give them a list, are they gonna call every single person in there? Or are we gonna give administration still like the ability to like, I'm just trying to think of how to find my words, like if we're all in this classroom sitting next to each other with, you know, seat to seat, one by one, and I test positive for COVID, and we give a class list, Kevin's our teacher, Kevin gives the class list, and because we're all in the same classroom, if we give them the list, is that gonna cause every student that was in that classroom to be contact traced?
My understanding from the other night is from what Karen said, it's not everybody. It's
Yeah.
this person, 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 that were next to the person within 3 feet
Yeah.
in 15 minutes. It's not everybody in the class.
So administration
So-
would still have to do that.
That's
They have to
so
provide the information.
Okay, so then my other potential comment to that is if someone tests positive, Lincoln County knows, right? The notice goes to them. So they get the name, they call the school hypothetically and say, so-and-so is tested positive, I need the class list. Do they contact, because I think in like the business world, if I recall, when you're they call you, they ask who you've been around, where you've been, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
Is that the process that we want them to follow, or are we saying, we're gonna give you the whole list, and we're gonna tell you the details of who they were around? Do you know what I'm getting at? Does that
You don't
make
wanna
sense?
hand over the whole list because you're thinking that Lincoln County Health will quarantine the whole class then.
Well, I'm wondering, is that a case? Yeah, is that a potential outcome? Versus doing the contact tracing, how Karen has explained it.
So, my belief, and I don't know this will be a Karen or a Dr. Sample question, was perhaps it started in the beginning of September one way, which may
Right.
or may not be your fear, and it's
Evolved.
evolved to closer to this 3
Yeah.
to 6 feet, because we're like, well, we got 400 kids quarantined over the course of a month or 6 weeks. Are we overdoing this? What is the true guideline?
I think,
And I can't speak to that. That's
And I
what
think
I
as long as-
heard at a series of 3 meetings.
I think it's difficult because we don't have,
I can
But I
see
think
it.
the
and you
teachers
can
are
answer
still-
questions
Yeah.
from business
Kids
operations,
quarantined.
but
If
you
you
need
just
Karen
give
and
it
Dr.
to them.
Sample to answer these.
They'll quarantine
Well,
everybody.
But I
some of
think
those things guys aren't come from the teachers who are there day to day, like, if you have kids who had to wait in the lunch line together and there was a holdup at the lunch line and they waited for 15 minutes, now the whole list is in, for
Right.
example. You know, and is the classroom seating necessarily how they sit at lunch? I don't know that, I doubt it. There's less tables and, you know, it's the lunch line.
yeah, they're pretty spread out, I think, but
I
if
don't-
we do the contact trace, like if we do that piece and then we hand the list, right? Like you're suggesting like that the teacher would say, these people were in near vicinity, this is the list we're gonna hand over, and then ask them to do the calls. So they'd still have to do that piece of like figuring out who is near each other, right?
Yeah, but I don't, and I guess I'm not clear. So I would think that MAPS, whoever is giving the information to whoever is getting it now, I would hope that they wouldn't change the data that of like who students were around the positive case as they would now that it's Lincoln County doing the contact tracing.
And I agree with you, I'm just wondering, I guess, long week, bear with me, it's only
No,
Tuesday.
I'm
I'm just wondering if we need to spell that out, that like how we would operate today would be the same list that we would hand over. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and herein lies the problem. This is a trust issue. And right now, I have a trust issue with administration. So if administration is going to take that list and make that list more expansive for Lincoln County to follow up on, we will know,
Mm-hmm.
and that will be an issue.
Okay.
That will be a massive issue. It'll be an issue right along with not following the 928 order. It'll be an issue right along the line with not contacting Lincoln County immediately to get in front of this board. That's my thought.
Mm-hmm.
So if we see, and I don't care if it's on Facebook or through calls or emails, that we are getting more kids quarantined, when the intent of this board is to get children back in the classroom quicker, that's a huge problem for me as a board member with administration.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm
I would
saying
agree.
on the record.
Okay.
So are you making an amendment, or are you?
I can make the amendment if it makes sense to you guys, to say, move to eliminate use of maps district resources to make contact tracing calls to individuals potentially exposed to positive COVID cases in the district. Because again, my intent and my thought is not use those resources, not put those resources in harm's way, for multiple reasons. It's Lincoln County saying they want it. It's not our people's job.
Did you get that, Ron?
Yep.
You got it with the friendly
Yep.
amendment from Merrill.
You want me to read it back?
Could you please?
Motion by Maria, second by Brett, direct MAPS administration to follow motion this. Hey, can you make me a copy of this quick? Not right this minute,
You can.
sometime. Oh, okay.
Where?
Okay. To follow that motion, I'm not gonna read that whole thing. To eliminate MAPS district resources to make contact tracing calls about individuals potentially exposed to COVID cases in the district. Is that it?
And make sure that said no longer makes, right, contact tracing call, or to eliminate that function,
yeah,
right?
To eliminate MAPS district resources, making contact tracing calls about individuals potentially exposed to COVID cases in the district.
And you were changing the date to November 3rd?
Effective November 3rd?
Yes, please.
Actually, I had a clarifying question.
On your on the original motion, it was, I thought you said that day is when we're gonna do the day after. You got a test.
Mhm.
And just on the original motion, from September 28th or what?
Yep, the
I thought it
original-
was gonna be you turn in your test and it had to be a day later, wasn't it?
Right, so you're starting the procedure tomorrow, correct?
So that if they turn a test negative tomorrow,
They can
come
return on the,
on the 4th. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that's the way it's read on that original motion. Because it sounded like the day out, you said day out.
so the move to allow re-entry into the school the day following
Okay,
proof of a negative COVID
Day
test.
that's all I was checking.
The-
Perfect.
the proof of a negative COVID test.
follow-up discussion or questions? Hearing none, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-1 as noted. Next item on our agenda this evening is the process for filling a vacancy created by the resignation of John Smith. There was data provided, and it goes through bylaw 0142.5 vacancies, and talks about posting in the photo news, which is then, required as far as statute is concerned, and putting things out there. Did everyone have time to read that paragraph, or can we take time to review that quick? I think some highlights there, of course, is that based on what the timing of this, we would be looking at posting for that position. We would then hold a special board meeting for candidate interviews. In the last event of that nature, we did have a series of questions that we do ask. They're called interview questions, that we ask the same question to every candidate. Last time, what we did is we each took a question to review and make sure that was still modern and the intent of the question. The time before that, the board instructed me to review the questions and make sure that they were still modern and what people wanted. I am open to any of that, and that night, once we know there are X number of candidates, we can decide the feeling of the room. If we want to go around and each ask a question, or assign myself to ask all the questions, that can be just a gut feel that evening. It is my thought, not knowing if you're going to have one candidate or 9, to have that the sole topic of that meeting, that this should not be tied to another event that we already have an agenda on. To have somebody wait to try to figure that out, or to do that first and excuse people, that should be the only topic, and that's how it was illustrated. Did anyone have any questions tied to what that paragraph said? Because I've got a couple follow-up questions for availability after that. Ron, go ahead.
Do we have to fill this, or because it's getting that close to the election, can we just wait?
Actually, statute now, because there was some districts in the state apparently that, and I'd have to get you the statute, I do not have it. I started to do that today and tried to do my day job. And I talked to Mike Jelka on that, and there's a 60-day rule. Unless it falls after the third Tuesday in November, and the 60 days goes back, filing of candidacy based on the last year in someone's term, and if you're facing west, and all these other things.
And the sun comes up in the west.
The temperature's past a certain thing or below it. No, I mean, there was a number of factors, and to say that I understood everything that Mike Jelka told me, I'd be kidding you. I understood and laid out what I understood, and have had a discussion with Tammy, and I know this meets that. But the short answer was, based on the timing of the letter of resignation effective immediately, there was no discussion of, did it fall within this grace period of not having to fill that before the election? And to be clear that whoever was placed and appointed would be up for re-election. So that would be a foregone conclusion. There is a certain timing where if you appoint somebody in the spring before the election and not on the ballot, that they stay for one more year and then they go on the ballot. So that's where the timing piece comes in. But because people have not had to file yet for non-candidacy or state that they are filing for or being a candidate or at-large people stating their intentions. That would be where we're at.
Okay.
I'm fine with the way we've done it in the past and the way you've got it set up. December 9th being the day that we meet to pick.
Do you have a list of those questions here, Kevin, from Kendra came on?
So in fairness, I did not bring them tonight, and here,
Well,
here's,
no, I don't need them tonight.
so
but,
here is my sole logic, is then it becomes an open records request item, and if we don't intend to give them to all the potential candidates, and one thinks of that, well, I guess kudos to them for thinking of that.
I was just
But then we might as well give them to everybody in advance instead of
Just
deadlines
asking
for us.
if you have. Or can.
I have a record of the ones we've used in the past as a guide,
That's all.
but I did not
That's
bring it
all I
tonight
asked. Nope, that's,
or-
don't need,
or intended not to attach them for that reason.
right,
And if,
makes sense.
The schedule to do this, as one can imagine, with holiday programs and testing and all these things are crazy. So I'm going to ask everybody if they can attend, because I don't know if someone's son or daughter in the middle school is in choir. Because I believe the only conflict on December 9th, when I looked at all these little things, happened to be Prairie River Middle School's chorus. And that was not intentional to pick on anyone, because I don't even know the time of it. I just have on my schedule what night Drizzles is, Kate, this grade,
It's
and
at
then I-
6:45
6:45.
to 8.
so if we can all check our calendar really quick, and I don't know if we have a quorum or not to start. I would tell you, if we don't on the 9th, we would go to the 8th. If we don't on the 8th, we will go to the 22nd of December. So I mean, this is like the limited numbers, so I want to make sure we can have as many of us there, and I'm not trying to single out anybody. In fact, I had Tammy kind of do the order of dates for me, because she knows the district events even better than I do. She probably took into consideration winter sports, and I don't have that in my phone. I'm behind on the basketball season and wrestling, and that I kept the fall stuff in here. And I'm not to that next point, and I know that week of the 8th and 9th, I think the 7th was a home game for somebody, and I don't remember who when I looked quick. If it was boys or girls basketball, but, so help me out. This should,
Just ever sent out an invite for the 9th, and if we get a quorum, fine, if not, the next one that you said.
I'm good.
I won't be here for the night because I will be at the choir concert at the middle school, but I'm trusting that all you board members are gonna do just fine without me. You guys have always done so in the past.
Is the choir concert though for only 6th, 7th, and 8th grade?
Yeah, the youth middle school, I believe. I don't know how it's working with the 5th graders this year really, but
I think I'd be there. I don't think they're in the concert this year. I don't think they have one. I'm looking at so I should be fine.
so at this point,
I'm fine.
Good.
Maria, at this point, I mean, as we sit here,
Right.
okay, so I would add, and I will go through, I will find those questions, and then I will make sure everyone thinks that these are good. I may even look at some, give some people some suggestions I want everyone to be a part of for that day if we can, and if not, certainly the process. So I will review that and get back to you. I just,
Quick question, Kevin, and I'm not sure that you would know this at this moment. With regard to posting this opening, I know it goes in the photo news a certain number of times. I know I saw the story under the SAW on Facebook yesterday and on TV. And my understanding is that employees in the district were not notified I'm not saying they should have or should not have been, of the open position before seeing it on the news. Do we post anything, do you know, like to the MAP site with regard to, okay, here's an open, MAP's website or Facebook, there's an opening on the board,
I think,
apply here, I don't know.
you know, I know it's not a weekend-able position because it's not tied in that level.
Okay, can I just say something else? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. The weekend job openings are airing out. I went on it today, apparently the new version.
There is a new version that just got
Yep.
released and.
Yep, and there, you can't see the positions anymore, just so you know, sorry.
Okay.
Back on the record.
Yeah, you're right, sorry.
It
I meant to say that, forgot.
Yep, no, we were there. So-
I know Amber was playing with it at one point today because we were having some
Yeah,
issues, so
okay.
I don't know if they're fully resolved or
Didn't
not.
know if you
So
knew.
Amber, back off the record, so if Amber brings that to his attention, is that an Amber alert?
I'm just asking.
Back on the record. Yeah, I'll be here just for all night. Oh, wow. No, so, in the past, it's been one time, and if instructed, twice in the photo news, and do I think Facebook would be advantageous? Possibly.
I just think
What
it's
is everyone's
another
thought? Should that be modified to twice in the photo news?
Isn't it already twice?
I thought it was once.
Facebook burns up with everything else.
No, I think it's
on
twice.
it, like, fair humor.
Yeah,
Okay.
according to the
Yep,
timeline.
11th and 18th, you're correct. Turn it in by the 4th, the request to be made on there, the 11th and 18th. Should
I
we,
just bring it up because there's a whole different faction of people that don't read the photo news, but they're on Facebook.
should,
I would agree with Mary.
should we modify the timeline then to between the 11th and the 11th of November and December 2nd to add it on Facebook? We're gonna wait till legal notice, or do you wanna do that in advance?
Why don't you keep it the same? Why don't you post one on Facebook on the 11th and post it again on the 18th? It's the same version.
And I would turn the comments off,
Yeah,
Yeah.
just,
just putting it out there.
just putting that out there.
Can we make
What am I
that-
gonna do from 5 to 5:30?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Can we make that note to post on the
Entertain
app's
it, please.
website, the legal notice as placed in the photo news on both the 11th and the 18th.
Not to split hairs, but you said MAP's website. Are you saying the
MAP.
website and Facebook?
Oh, both. MAP's website and Facebook.
Scare everybody.
Let's-
Come on in.
Come on in.
Come on in, everyone. 30, 40 people.
Yeah, right. I would be shocked.
You didn't know this.
I'll be going to the middle school then.
I know. Wait, I have to attend a concert.
Sure, I'll tell you where I'm sitting.
Okay,
I gotta make sure I don't.
Front
We
middle,
get
all right,
song.
so Linda? Front middle, all right?
Yeah, sometimes I like to sit in the back.
Okay.
You can see better. Wider version. But I don't think it'll be too comical anymore compared to the elementary stuff where the kids are just, you know, maybe.
Okay. Do we feel we need that as a motion for adjusting the timeline? Just to be clear? Okay?
I mean,
We will have that as friendly instruction from the clerk/recorder. Any other questions or comments on the process, or we?
You said 11th and 18th?
Yes,
Oh, November.
the dates follow it, the same dates as the legal notice
Okay.
being published in the photo news, so we're gonna just follow that. Be added to that. And a link and notification on the website and Facebook for the district. Anything else on that topic or under those procedures? Otherwise, I would
motion to adjourn, please.
motion by Linda, a second by Maria to adjourn at 6:35. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Eddie,